September 3rd, 2018, I started a challenge that I called the Emerald Gym Challenge. The idea was simple. I, daughter of Norman, was going to take my father's title of normal-type gym leader and win the game. I would give myself a set of simple rules that would facilitate battling in a fair way becoming of my new position and prove that normal type is in fact best type. The rules were simple. 1. I could only go into a gym with an equal number of Pokemon as the gym leader. 2. I could only use items equal to the number of Pokemon in my party. 3. I could only battle with normal type Pokemon. And 4. Any loss was immediately a game over. An unofficial 5th rule was that I had my game on set, so I couldn't switch Pokemon for free. With these rules in mind, I was ready to start my challenge. The first step to becoming the greatest normal-type trainer was to pick my first Pokemon. It was a tough choice, but between a dog, a cat, and a bear, I had to choose the bear. I faced the fool who thought he could challenge me and easily crushed him with my normal-type superiority. I got the Pokedex and some Pokeballs from the professor, and then went on to catch my second team member. By the time I got to the first gym, I had amassed a full team of normal types, a veritable array of primed, pumped Pokemon ready to take on anyone in our way. We were ready, we were confident, and we were facing a rock gym. See, in this run, there's what I like to call the barrier to entry. Simply put, the first 2 gyms are horrible for normal types, and because of how early they are in the run, there aren't as many tools for overcoming these gyms. Add in the fact that I had a set Pokemon limit, an item limit, a self-imposed rule about leveling, the battles being set, and a no-lose policy that meant I only got 1 shot. Yeah, I was wondering if perhaps I bit more than I could chew. My plan was to use Skitty's Sing, Attract, and Tail Whip to just make it impossible for her Pokemon to move, while I made their defense low enough to get decent damage. The big brain play relied on a lot of luck, like that Roxanne would have an all-girl team, but fortune favors the bold, and with a bit of time and patience, Screech the Skitty took down all 3 opponents. Stone badge in hand, it was time to make my way to Dewford for my next badge, but not before I saved this Wingull and reminded my rival how out of his league I was. Now I had the side quest of bringing some boat parts to Slateport and delivering a letter to some guy named Steven. I decided to deliver the letter before the gym to get some extra grinding in, and after going through a pitch-black cave I know like the back of my hand, I handed Steven his dad's letter. He could have used that new phone device he just gave me to simply call his son, but that doesn't matter. What matters is that even after all these years, I still love Steven Stone. S+, would date hot business steel rock nerd. But now was not the time for love. I had perhaps the toughest gym in the entire run ahead of me, Brawly. I had a newly evolved Vigoroth and a Tailo, and that was about as ready as I could be for this gym. This time the plan was simple. If they can't hit me, I can't lose. So I double teamed and then used focus energy for extra oomph in my hits. I got really lucky, and Machop missed everything, allowing me to set up enough that I could wing attack to my heart's content. Now, I had the Knuckle Badge, and had passed the barrier to entry. I was feeling really good about the run, and the excitement only grew as Whismur evolved into Loudred, and Zigzagoon evolved into Linoon. We were rolling through this game like we rolled through Brendan. I made it to Mauville in record time, setting my sights on the bike shop. 1 bike later, and I had to teach Wally a lesson because he was in my way. I wasn't quite ready for the gym yet, so I then spent my time crushing the veritable smorgasbord of athletes surrounding the city. Tailo evolved into Swellow, and I took that as my cue to fight Watson. But not with Swellow, that would be stupid. I had a more traditional approach with this gym. Use Mudsport to lower electric type damage, and then use Linoon's head as a weapon of mass destruction. Magneton provided the biggest challenge with its steel typing, along with the ability to confuse and paralyze, but with Loudred's inability to be confused by Supersonic and his use of Rock Smash, I was able to barely skirt by and get to Manectric. Teddiursa and Manectric went back and forth, but ultimately it was his last Pokemon versus my last Pokemon. Manectric versus Vigoroth, and it was close. Way too close. But I won. My previous confidence was broken, and I carefully moved north towards Falabra Town. I made a quick stop to put down the Winstrut family and made another stop for an interview and caught the first new Pokemon since before my fight with Roxanne. I made my way into town covered in soot, and then promptly made my way out of town, as there really wasn't much for me to do there. Meteor Falls was the next stop on my list of places to go. I quietly lamented the fact Emerald gets the Viper over Zangoose, but quickly moved on to saving a scientist from people in sick hoodies. Unfortunately, it seems that those people in hoodies are actually trying to start a volcanic eruption, and I can't be a gym leader if Hoenn is destroyed by a sea of lava. So I go to Mount Chimney, evolve my Skitty to a Delcatty, and teach Maxie not to get in my way ever again. Flannery was next, and my confidence was still shot from the last gym match with Watson. I brought back Screech the Delcatty for his Attract-Sing combo in case of emergency, and set out with Covet the Vigoroth to take out as many with brute strength as I could. Camerupt took down Vigoroth, and Delcatty was sent in only for the Camerupt to use Attract against me. Screech overcame the power of love to take down the Camerupt, only to face a Torkoal that also knew Attract. I forgot what Torkoal's ability was, not once, but twice, which put me at a severe disadvantage. Endeavor the Swallow was all that was left, but with some evasive maneuvers and a crit, she was able to bring home the Heat Badge. Some brief training was all I got as a break before it was time to face my next obstacle, my own father, Norman. This battle would decide who was the greatest Normal-type trainer in the region, a title that would make me the true Normal-type gym leader. By now I had developed a style for most of my tougher matches. I relied on my Pokemon being able to set up either Attract or Yawn or Double Team before attacking in earnest. This would work well against Norman's Slacking and his Truant ability, but the overall power of a Slacking scared me. I had a newly evolved Ursaring though, and she was ready to prove herself. Norman started out with a Spinda, and immediately my strategy was put into effect. Double teams and focus energy set my Swallow up to take down the Spinda with ease. Vigoroth got a couple good hits in, but inevitably he went down as well. Linoon followed, but with a Soda Pop or two, Swallow was able to win the match. Finally, it was down to Slacking. One hit was all it took to take down Swallow, so Vigoroth was sent in to try and finish him off. A Yawn to open up with, along with Vital Spirit preventing the opposing Yawn from landing, started Covet on the right track. But as she was about to land the final blow, Slacking woke up and crit her, an unofficial one-shot. Uproar was sent out, and with strength, took out the Mighty Ape. I took the Balance Badge and title Strongest Normal-type Trainer in Hoenn. But that wasn't enough for me. Sure, I proved I was better than my dad, but I didn't just want to be the best at using normal types. I wanted to be the best while using normal types. A new goal was set, and it was in Evergrande City, but first I had to get the last 3 badges to enter the league. I taught my Linoon Surf, and we made our way to the east of the continent, where the first order of business was to catch a new member for the team. Thief the Kecleon joined our merry band of normal types, and we marched north to Fortree City. On my way, I was stopped from proceeding by a bunch of bandanaed grunts, so I went into the Weather Institute to politely tell them to get off of the bridge and let me pass. When asking didn't work, I took them down with my new buddy Thief, and for my efforts was rewarded with another normal type, Cast Form. With some deep thought into potential strategies for the future, I brought Hale the Cast Form on to be a more permanent member of the team. My rival tried to fight me, but I showed him who was the boss, with no difficulty whatsoever. Finally, it was time to face the Flying Gym and Winona. The battle started off with an easy KO of her Swablu with Loudred. Tropius was next, but its attempt to Solar Beam was not worth the 2 free hits of strength Echo Voice got. Pelipper got some damage in with a water gun, but a couple shockwaves and it went down as well. Skarmory was next, and again the Steel typing caused me the most difficulty. Loudred went down fast, and Thief was sent in after. Her color change ability allowed her to also become a Steel type, which lowered the damage she was taking from Skarmory's Steel Wing. I then tried to use Screech to lower its defenses enough for Covet to come in and do some real damage. Covet used Bulk Up to also get some improved attack and defense stats, and with a couple of slashes both Skarmory and Altaria were defeated, and the Feather Badge was mine. I fought through trainers on my way to Lily Cove, Covet evolved into a Slacking, I reminded my rival that he has never and will never beat me, and then I watched as both evil teams stole priceless sacred magical orbs. And then nothing. For over a year. At the end of August 2020, a new YouTuber popped up on my feed. Just some guy called Small Ant. He played a couple Pokemon challenges that ranged from funny to incredibly difficult, and I got hooked. It reminded me of a time when I did an Emerald Challenge, oh so long ago. One that had been haunting me as an incomplete series. So I decided to break out the old ROM and finish what I had begun. I refamiliarized myself with my beloved team and jumped right back in on my quest to be the very best. First thing I had to do was find out what Team Magma and Team Aqua had done with those stolen orbs, so I went to the Aqua hideout where a helpful grunt told me that I had picked the wrong team and I had to stop Team Magma first. So I surfed right back out and flew to Lava Ridge to confront Maxie, only to then realize I had the wrong bike. Another series of flights later, I was finally able to reach the Magma Stronghold. I got back into the rhythm of Emerald as I defeated grunt after grunt after grunt after grunt after grunt after grunt after grunt. A lot of defeated grunts later, I finally got to Maxie. He used the power of the blue orb and awakened Groudon, who didn't like the disruption to his sleep and promptly skedaddled out of the volcano. In true villain fashion, Maxie blamed me for his own failures and challenged me to a battle. Perhaps the hardest part of the battle was the fact Mightyena lowered attack with Intimidate. All of my Pokemon relied on the attack stat as their main source of damage, so the reduction meant it just took longer to whittle Mightyena down. Several double teams and wing attacks later, Swellow was able to bring it to 0. Camerupt got lucky and was able to hit a rock slide before I could take it out, but Hail was able to make a great impression by resisting an earthquake and getting a big hit with Weather Ball. Last was his Crobat, who caused a lot of turmoil with its speed and confusion, but it was only a matter of time before I knocked it out as well. With Maxie out of my way, it was time to take on Team Aqua. Or so I thought. Again, the helpful Team Aqua grunt informed me that I first needed to go see them commandeer a sub before I could face Archie, so I flew to Slateport City just in time to watch Captain Stern finish his interview about his submarine. Conveniently, that was also the time Archie decided to announce his theft of the vessel, and so back to Lily Cove I flew to finally face Team Aqua. Team Aqua's hideout was a bit more straightforward than Team Magma's, so after fighting the prerequisite of 10 grunts, I took on Admin Matt and crushed him like everyone else. Archie escaped with the sub before I could properly beat him up, and I was left to make my way to Moss Deep City. The ride to Moss Deep City was pretty uneventful, but at my arrival I realized how underleveled I was for the upcoming gym. I flew to Lily Cove again, only to realize I had never picked up the XP share, so I took a detour to Rustboro to talk to my pal, the chairman. Another flight back to Lily Cove, and it was time for me to grind. After a good chunk of grinding time and a new X-Cloud, I was finally ready to face the gym. I refreshed myself on my rules for the run, and headed in. Tate and Liza didn't have an inherent advantage over my team, except for the fact that Lunatone and Solrock are, well, rocks. So I had to rely on Castform for some water coverage. And let's not kid ourselves, Castform is not a Pokemon you imagine beating anyone, but I believed. Hale had been making great strides as a team player, and I was certain that if I could get a rain dance going without taking damage, he could win it all. The first round did not go as smoothly as I wanted. Xatu had Confuse Ray, and combined with Slacking's Truant, I was really only using half of my turns. I decided taking down Claydol was my priority, and so I got one last attack out of Thief before she fainted. I had to trust Hale would be able to set up now. Fortunately, Xatu wasted its turn using Sunny Day before Hale's Rain Dance kicked in, and Lunatone went for a Calm Mind. Now I just had to hope my belief in Castform meant something, that my faith in the inherent awesomeness of normal types was not misplaced. And Hale did not disappoint, taking down Lunatone and Solrock with ease, and finishing off Xatu with a critical hit. The Mine badge was mine. Next gym required Dive to get to, which I had to get from Steven, who happened to be in the Hoenn version of NASA, but par for the course, Team Magma was there to get in my way again. Leaving even more grunt bodies in my wake, I made my way to the second floor, where I saw Maxie harassing my poor Steven. Also, he was planning to pour rocket fuel into a volcano to cause an ungodly explosion, but that doesn't matter. No one messes with Steven Stone but me. We teamed up with our combined might and took out Maxie for good. In his eternal gratitude, Steven gave me the HM for dive, and I could finally make my way to the secret underwater cavern Archie was hiding in. But there was just one problem. Normal types are superior in almost every scenario, except breathing underwater. They aren't really equipped to do that, which meant I was going to have to get a non-normal type Pokemon to carry me to my intended destination. So I went to Shoal Cave, picked up a Spheal, and threw him in the back of the party, never to see battle, ever. Now that I was properly equipped for underwater travel, I found the cavern in the Sullen Sub. Team Aqua tried to stop me, but they were really bad at that. What did stop me was the confusing layout of the cavern that made me end up at the first opening multiple times. After struggling with directions for 15 minutes, I finally made my way to Kyogre. Archie got his evil villain monologue, and our battle began. As per usual, Mightyana's mix of swagger and intimidate slowed me down, but Covet's overwhelming strength won out in the end. Some more flailing from slacking, and victory was mine. Then, the red orb just decided to be a dick, and wake up the other ancient mystical monster without my permission. We made our way to the surface, and now nature was in whack. Both evil dudes had a moment where they realized that changing the ratio of land to sea for an entire continent maybe wasn't the smartest idea, and set off to try to save the world before we all died. I realized that no planet means no Steven, and no Pokemon League, so F it, I guess I'll try to save the world too. Also, Brendan called to tell me he saw a green snake thing flying towards Pacificlog Town. Thanks dude, but now is not the time. I made my way to Sootopolis City to see the epic battle firsthand before Steven brought me to meet this guy in a cave. He says he used to be a gym leader, but now isn't, for reasons. He gave me a list of potential places for a mythical green flying monster, and I decided a place called Sky Pillar sounds important enough to house a god, so off he went, leaving me behind. Rude. I hopped on my Spheal and surfed over to the pillar to meet up with Wallace, only for him to tell me that now he's worried for Sootopolis, so I should talk to this legendary being by myself. Then off he went again. Double rude. So I walked up the tower and confronted the sky being Rayquaza, who was actually pretty accommodating. I just had to point to the circling gray clouds over Sootopolis, and they were on it. I fly back and watch as Rayquaza works their magic, sending Groudon and Kyogre back from whence they came. Now that the world wasn't ending, I was able to continue my gym challenge. Hoenn tried to intimidate me with his suave demeanor and his pedigree as Wallace's mentor, but Exploud just shockwaved a lot and won. It wasn't a very impressive battle. And so the rain badge was mine. After receiving the last gym badge, I was ready to finish this challenge. I had proved myself the best gym leader, but now I needed to be the best trainer. I surfed around to all the routes I missed before, facing all the trainers to get as much XP as possible. I even went to the abandoned ship and got the scanner, and more importantly, Ice Beam. Then I flew back to take on Victory Road. The first trainer almost got me with a muck that had acid armor and minimize, so I immediately put Earthquake on Covet to prevent something like that again. Other than him though, the rest of the trainers went down pretty easy. Even Wally in the last win streak couldn't handle the powerhouse my team had become. So with some final battles under my belt, it was time for the Elite Four. After some grinding. But then it was time for the Elite Four. I had spent most of my money on protein powders and energy drinks to buff up my Pokemon stats, just a bit more, so I was dangerously understocked for this gauntlet, but I had faith that my team would pull through with what little we had. We had to give this a shot. We had to prove that we were the ultimate team of normal types that would crush any and all in our wake. It was time to be brave. The first Elite Four trainer is Sydney, and he starts with that cursed Mightyana Intimidate. My plan was to go in and use my most special heavy member, and then use Ice Beam and Shockwave on a Shiftry, Cacturne, and Crawdaunt with no penalties. The battle started out poorly for me, with Mightyana getting a crit double edge before I could take it out, followed by a missed Ice Beam on Shiftry. I knew I had limited resources, so every missed move was more painful than the last, but eventually the Ice Beam landed and crit, taking down Shiftry. One Ice Beam was all it took for Cacturn, and Shockwave easily dealt with his Crawdaunt. Uproar broke the Absol, and the first of the Elite Four was defeated. Phoebe was next, and probably the hardest battle I was expecting to face in this run. The limitations of Ghost and Normal types being unable to hit each other meant this was going to be a battle of alternate types. I had some weak Dark moves to throw out, but I was far from confident in my ability to win. Her Dusclops started strong with Protect and Confuse Ray, so I used her Protect turns to heal my Ursaring's confusion. Finally, she cursed and I was able to land a final hit of Feint Attack, but it was not looking good for me. Bayonet got a lucky Will-O-Wisp on Endeavor despite my double teams, but Swellow got a lucky crit and I was able to take the Bayonet down. That look ended after 2 Thunderbolts bypassed the double teams to take her out. Thief was next with more Feint Attacks, but Bayonet threw a curveball with Psychic, changing Kecleon to a Psychic type, and who was therefore weak to Ghost moves. Exploud finished the Bayonet off with a Shockwave, regaining our lead with 2 fainted Pokemon to 3. More Shockwaves were thrown at a Sableye until it fainted, and then the final Dusclops took the stage. This Dusclops knew Earthquake and had a Citrus Berry, providing a tough match, but eventually Echo Voice had lowered its health enough that one Earthquake from Covet was enough to finish it. It was a brutal fight, but I had won, and the next 3 seemed more doable as long as I was able to manage my resources correctly. I didn't have very many full restores, and I was almost out of fresh water for healing between battles, so I needed to be smart and conserve HP whenever possible. Glacia was next, so I went with the well-tested method of Shockwave. However, Shockwave wouldn't work so well against Glalie. I decided then it was better to buff up Exploud's attack and heal once or twice while he swept, rather than send out multiple Pokemon to take on Glalie's. So, taking a page from Watson's book, Exploud howled and howled and howled until he couldn't any longer, and we had to start taking Pokemon out. And it worked! Echo Voice outsped every opponent to land incredible strength damage. One more heal and he was able to get Walrein low enough that Covet could knock her out without losing health. Mostly. After the battle I healed and realized I had only 1 freshwater left and 9 full restores. I needed this battle to go smoothly so that I would have enough healing to go into the championship at full. I had a pretty solid plan, but honestly I was sure this was either going to be incredibly easy or insanely hard. That's just how dragon users are. And so I started the fight with Drake. It was a plethora of dragons versus one cloudy boy, and my cloudy boy did work. He one-shot the Shelgon and Drake's Flygon, taking a flamethrower in between. Then Drake sent out his Salamence, the strongest of his dragons. Hail took the hit so Echo Voice could get a clean switch in. 2 Ice Beams and 2 dead dragons later, it was Exploud versus Kingdra. Ice Beam did not do the damage that I needed it to, and Kingdra was Dragon Dancing to raise its stats. I knew Kingdra with an increased attack and speed could easily wipe most of my team if Drake used a full restore. I had to hope Echo Voice could knock it out before it came to that. Kingdra used Body Slam in an attempt to take him down, but I believed in Echo Voice, and he came through, tanking the hit with 16 HP before landing Strength, defeating the last of Drake's dragons. After reviving and healing my team, the final battle was upon us. Strategies were running through my head at rapid pace. Do I try to Sunny Day with Castform so that his water moves were weaker? Do I try to double team and use evasive maneuvers? Will Shockwave be enough to knock out any of his Pokemon? I was nervous, but I was also my father's daughter. Covet was easily my most powerful attacker and defender. She could easily give as much as she took. Her only problem lied in her ability, Truant. You see, I was confident that Covet could take out anyone in a one-on-one battle, but Truant made her really bad at drawn-out fights. It essentially gave my opponents free turns to set up, damage, or heal, and considering the fact I was on set mode, which made switching her out more tedious, I was guaranteeing a free hit for every Pokemon on Wallace's team if I used her. It was why, until this point, I had never had her lead the team. But I could trust Covet with this. We were going to prove normal types were superior. Together. I walked into the champion's room full of fear and excitement. Wallace thanked me for my part in saving the world, and the final battle began. He sent out Wailord and I sent out Slacking, a battle of heavy hitters right out the gate. My first turn already gave me pause. I could just start bulking up right away for the fast KO, or I could yawn and potentially give Wallace 2 turns to knock me out. But I remembered my battle against Roxanne, and how with a bit of luck, sing, and stat moves, a Skitty was able to beat a rock gym. So I embraced my own gym leader style and yawned. Wailord retaliated with a water spout, and it did over half Covet's health. Adrenaline kicked in as I realized I needed to take it out fast. Fortunately, during my journey, I had learned that Truant counts item use as a turn, so I was able to heal without costing myself a move. Another water spout, and I was back to where I started, but now Wailord was asleep. I needed luck to be on my side. The minute that Wailord woke up, I would be a goner, so I had to work fast. Bulk Up would raise my attack and defense, but in this gen all water moves are special attacks, so no matter how high my defense rose, it wouldn't do anything to prevent another big hit from Wailord. This was purely a matter of timing. Bulk Up, then another heal during my Truant turn brought me to a good place in terms of tactical advantage, but every turn I pushed it was another 2 turns Wailord could wake up. But I needed that attack boost for my plan to work, so I risked one more Bulk Up. Luck was on my side, and Wailord slept through everything, and I had to pull the trigger. Either Covet was strong enough or she wasn't. We couldn't wait any longer. She used strength, and I held my breath waiting for the outcome. And she did it. One shot and the behemoth was down. His next Pokemon came in and Truant kicked in, allowing Tentacruel to land a Toxic, but the Rampage was just getting started. Earthquake landed for super effective damage and the Tentacruel was down. Ludicolo was next and tried to evade Covet's grasp, but Covet was on a roll and nothing could stop her now. Wishcash's defense, Gyarados' Intimidate, Milotic's Surf, nothing could stop the onslaught that was Covet's bulked up form. One shot after one shot after one shot, Covet showed them just how strong she could be. She was a champion. I was a champion. And just as quickly as it had kicked in, the adrenaline faded. I had done what I set out to do. I had proved normal types to be the best by beating the champion. I was done. Wallace took me to the back room and immortalized my team in the archives of Hoenn. Covet, a Pokemon whose strength was only matched by her inability to attack 2 turns in a row. Endeavor, the evasive Pokemon that covered the team's biggest weakness. Echo Voice, our special attacker and jack of all types. Thief, our secret heavy hitter. Uproar, the starter and all-around dependable backbone of the team. And Hail, the proof that anything is possible if you believe in yourself. Welcome to the Hall of Fame, guys. You deserve it. And that was my journey on the Pokemon Emerald Gym Challenge. It was fun to come back and finish something that had been part of the beginning of the channel so long ago. I know that I technically broke the item rule once with Phoebe, but otherwise it was exciting to challenge myself in a way that was different from a Nuzlocke. It really felt special. I know almost all of you have never watched a single episode of the original series, and I don't blame you. I learned about volume control way too late, but I'll include it in the corner if you'd like to see some of the gym battles and events live. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye!